Let's also bring on board Mr. Kush Bohra of kushbohra.com. Thank you for joining us here on News 9 Kush. Always nice seeing you. And I mean that we have broken below 22,000 this morning. Good recovery we saw, that 150 point on Nifty. But I mean, I'm looking at the price charts. In the past couple of sessions, we have taken support around that 21,900, 920 sort of zone. Is that a critical support for us now?
Hi, first of all, very good morning to you, to all the viewers, and always a pleasure to be here. I think you've made my life easier, by spotting the key levels on the charts. Also to add to that one point that, if you look at the weekly options expiry data, the 22,000 put still has a very strong base, and we've seen about 20-25% odd addition on it. So I think this is a level where the index will perhaps consolidate for some time. Give or take 100 points since there's a spike in volatility. So I think you're spot on there. 21,900 also happens to be the 50-day moving average. So but 21,900 on the downside, and on the upside 22,200. This is the band where the markets can spend some time in. There are pockets which are trying to emerge, especially the Bank Nifty. But looking at Bank Nifty in a very constructive way, see, there was already an underperformance in Bank Nifty, right? So the downside from here may not be as deep. That said, for the past 5 sessions, today included 6 sessions, we are seeing a lower low formation, which is not a very healthy sign. But perhaps it's coming to a point where the risk reward ratio will start being very attractive for a long position. So about 46,000 could be stop loss, and from there on, if the Bank Nifty does recover, 47,200 and then 47,700 are the targets that it could achieve. Also, the fact that the HDFC Bank stock has started taking support, is helping its cause. So I think some of these things will play out. I think we've seen an exaggerated move over the last couple of sessions. I think some consolidation over the next few days is perhaps par for the course.
Good morning, Kush. Now, yesterday we were talking about a new policy in the government policy in the works for the medical and medical devices pharma and medical devices sector. Now, today we have in the news, one of the companies we had mentioned yesterday was Biocon. Now, Eris Life Sciences, which is a chronic therapy focused drug firm, has acquired the formulation business, India branded formulation business of Biocon for 1,242 crores, which is 3.4 times revenue, 18 times EBITDA of the company. The purchase enables Eris to enter into the 30,000 crore injectable insulin market. It will increase their exposure in the diabetes insulin space to 1,000 crores. It's around 50 to 200 right now. But when I look at the stocks of both the companies, whether it is Eris or it is Biocon, they are down today. They have been down the last 5 days. They have been down the last 6 months. Last 6 months, Eris has performed slightly better, slightly in the positive. But last 1 month, last 5 days, and even today, both the stocks are down. Do you think which company will benefit? Biocon has unlocked value by selling a big chunk of their business. Eris has opened up a market. Do you think this will be a turnaround for both the companies? It is not showing right now. Both of them, the stocks have been floundering for some time.
Well, I think, what you said towards the end perhaps summarizes it beautifully, that, the stocks aren't reflecting any kind of enthusiasm. Biocon, there was a brief phase when, it was trending higher along with some of the other pharma names, but this stock does have a tendency to, give way and give way really fast. So I don't think Biocon, from here on as well, despite the kind of news flow that has come in, does still warrant a buy. It's barely holding on to its 200-day moving average. So I think, once that is taken out, 255, 260 kind of zones, we're already there. So if that is taken out in a convincing way, the stock could head lower. Only on a relative basis. And by relative basis, I mean, if you compare Biocon and Eris Life Sciences, Eris is still on a slightly better footing. But again, here also we've seen a stark underperformance. So I think, between the two, Eris might perhaps hold up for some time, but Biocon, I think very delicately placed, it might perhaps slip further. So I think Eris is something that if you already have in your portfolio, you can hold on with 830 kind of a level as your stop loss. Biocon, I wouldn't really suggest holding on even now. Perhaps an exit, or don't even consider buying it, at least for the moment.
Considering the injectable market is so huge, do you see Eris, at least as you mentioned, is on a stronger footing? rallying from here on, leveraging their entry into this big market?
Well, from a purely price movement perspective, that is not really reflected. See, you see some kind of a movement that, the market or the stock that starts to, price in. And we did see a bit of that. If you see from, end of Feb up until, early March, the stock did rally from, 850 to 900, 910 odd levels. But then it gave way really fast. And today also, despite the news coming out, there hasn't really been, that much of an enthusiasm that has creeped in. See, mind you, yesterday and today, there have been pockets which have done well, after the kind of sell-off we saw. And if there was ever a case, then it was today for the stock to perhaps do well. So I will wait and watch. If the stock does sort of take this in its stride, once the market volatility settles, then perhaps there is a case for going long on Eris from these levels.
All right, and Paytm is another stock that we wanted to pick your brains on. It got the nod from NPCI to continue UPI via State Bank and 3 other banks. Now the company will function as a third-party application provider. What this means is that Paytm customers can continue using the Paytm app. Although the nodal account will now not be of Paytm Payments Bank, it will be of one of these 4 banks. And Morgan Stanley, Kush is predicting a 57% upside with a target price of 555. What's Kush Bohra saying?
We've actually suggested a buy on this a couple of sessions ago. Although it did slip lower from those levels, but it's heartening to see that it's again come back to those levels and it's actually trading in a profit from where we had suggested. Our reasoning was very clear. The stock had gone into oversold territories. The worst was already priced in somewhere close to 320. Even if you see the recent low that the stock has made is actually slightly above the 320 level that it had fallen to. And now with the clarification coming in, I think there is a room on the upside. Locked in upper circuit, so I don't think you'll get a fresh entry into this today or maybe anytime soon. But if you have, continue holding on to this one. I'll have to agree with Morgan Stanley here. The kind of fall we saw, the recovery could be just as fast.
All right, and one final question from me. The markets, they are super volatile right now. Small cap index and the mid cap index, they were up 0.5% in the morning trade, now down 0.5% in the morning trade. I mean, for traders, it's a playground out there, but what would be your advice to retail investors and traders, especially because in a move and in a time like that when the markets move very sharply, you could be stuck at the wrong side?
Suyash, I think many of them already are, and that's where the pain is, right? I'm glad you asked me this overarching question. Look, there's an old adage, which says that, the higher they go, the harder they fall. And we'd seen the kind of moves that, the mid cap and the small cap names had made over the last month and a half, maybe even, a couple of months. Believe me, I think a lot of traders and investors also knew that, these are unsustainable kind of rallies. Of course, no one ever predicted that, these could fall so sharply and, or at least they didn't anticipate it in their portfolio, right? I think the prudent way to go about things right now is to wait, have patience, because if you're invested in good names, even in the mid cap and the small cap names, I'm fairly confident that they will bounce back and they might perhaps bounce back sharper than some of the other names. So hold on, don't sell in the panic scenario. 2, if you have fresh allocations to make, this is perhaps a good time to start entering in small bits, because every time we talk on buy on dips, and when the dips come, either you don't have money or you don't have the courage. So if there is money, it's perhaps time to deploy that along with some courage and start accumulating some of these names. I'm not saying that the worst is over and perhaps we're making a near-term bottom here and the stocks won't fall further, as is the case that we've seen between yesterday and today. But some capital deployment is perhaps a good idea. But I'd resort to my first statement. Do not sell in panic. If you're invested in quality names, your holding period will perhaps be a little longer, but you might see your rates sooner than later.
Some capital deployment and probably cautious courage is what you're saying. But Kush, what do you advise our investors, your pick for our investors today?
Sure. So for a while, in fact, I remember the last time around also I was here, I had suggested shifting from mid-cap names to large-cap names. That theory continues. Today, what we've got are 2 stocks, Geo Financial. You'll recall we've discussed this a couple of times. 350 was a target. The stock overshot that by some margin and has come into a bit of a profit booking. So I think Geo Financial is something that you should have on your radar. 365, 370, is perhaps a good level that the stock can retest. So have this in your portfolio. The other stock is Siemens. What a beautiful run this has had, and it's not even participated in the downfall. So I think 4850, 4950 are the levels that you should have as the targets. 4650 should be your stop loss from a near-term perspective. So stick to quality names. These dips are a good entry point, given that the India story is very much intact.
All right, Geo Financial Services and Siemens are the two picks for the short term coming from Kush Bohra. Sir, always a pleasure speaking with you. Appreciate your time and your thoughts.